Maybe with this one, maybe it just doesn't like courage. Just doesn't like it. Yeah, I will go down and check on that and see if he sent me an email. I was in a meeting where he said he'd see it short. Okay. I guess.
where you are,
Can
but
everybody
the trail's
hear
not
us?
accurate at all, so. Like,
This is recorded on YouTube. The live stream has started.
Should we disconnect? Did they confirm they can hear us?
No, I haven't heard from anybody yet. Can you hear us okay?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect, thank you.
Perfect, thanks, Stephanie.
So we're gonna get going. Okay, awesome.
I'm on call, so
Oh, yeah, no.
if this does ring, I do apologize.
All right, so welcome everybody to our October meeting. So we'll start with the land acknowledgement. I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and known as Powaging. Powaging is the home of Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. So we received our minutes from our September 9th meeting. Any questions or comments about those meeting minutes? Okay, can I have a mover to adopt? Lou, and a seconder? Councillor Dufour, thank you. So, resolved that the minutes of Park and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting of September 9th, 2025 be approved. Oh, item number 3, declaration of pecuniary interest. Does anybody have anything to declare? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, which is adoption of our agenda for today. Any questions or comments about the agenda? Okay, seeing none, can I have someone move the agenda for today, October 7th? Jonathan, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Dufour, thank you. So resolved that the agenda for Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee meeting for October 7th, 2025 as presented be approved. So now we're moving on to item number 5, business arising, and we have a presentation regarding the waterfront development plan or development plan. So I think Travis is here to present that to us, Travis Anderson, so I will hand over the floor to you.
Thanks. Hi everyone, I'm Travis Anderson, Director of Tourism and Community Development. Just bear with me. Pull up the presentation here.
We love technology.
Awesome. And then presumably I'm gonna have to share screen, right? Okay, did everybody see the presentation okay at home?
Yes,
Okay, perfect. Hey Paul, how you doing?
good, you?
Yeah, good.
Can you see me?
Well, it's gonna compliment you on your hair, but I figured it's the same these days.
Yeah, the one on top is.
Yeah, good. So, okay, I'll get right in. So, back in 2023, Tourism Sault Ste. Marie, in partnership with Destination Northern Ontario, as well as the city, undertook a process to re-examine our waterfront. I think everybody can appreciate we've got a phenomenal waterfront. However, what we often hear is that there's very few areas where you can actually, spend money, socialize, and actually partake in experiences, with the exception of maybe Clerk Park. And then if you're looking, for activities or places to stop, at the Delta, Montanas, and further afield, the mall. So when we were doing this exercise, we kind of took a holistic view of, what would it take to revamp our waterfront, and to realign it with some more community development and tourism principles at mind. and look at a way that we could attract more visitors to the community and keep them here longer. So when we started the exercise, we looked at a scope boundary, which essentially ran from the Canal District all the way down to the old hospital locations. So this is a quick picture of the scope boundary. And some of the rationale behind doing it, we do know that if based on other studies and other waterfront revitalization, that it does have the ability to increase spending by 30%. We know that it materially positively impacts housing pricing as well as real estate in the area, and that it is a strong driver for the attraction of new residents as well as tourists. So starting in December 2023, continuing into March, we consulted and engaged with over 900 people locally. We did that a combination of pop-up events at the Sioux Market. We had booths at the John Rhodes, the NCC, the mall, as well as a survey. And through that feedback, we had some great comments and kind of big ideas that were put forward by the community. One of the big drivers was this concept of a continuous promenade. So a fully connected waterfront from the Canal District to the old hospital site with a common kind of texture and feel and look. There were also recommendations about an interest in getting closer to the water, some actual opportunities to swim. Also, real strong interest in having more play areas, particularly in the downtown core. And then cantilevered outlooks. I don't know if you guys know, but the outlook over the Michigan Sioux Locks gets about 500,000 people on an annual basis. So the desire for people to come and to kind of gaze at the freighters as well as, you know, beautiful waterfront that we have, and more opportunities to touch the water, whether that's through kayaking or other means, and then retail activation was a huge interest as well. So from those processes, we started to kind of gel on, you know, what this concept could look like, and we borrowed, you know, some thoughts from some other communities. I think around this time I was in Quebec City for a conference, and you know, they've got these beautiful long linear parks. So trying to kind of replicate how can you make the waterfront feel like one continuous kind of fully activated park. And so we started looking at, you know, how this promenade could look from the Canal District all the way along the waterfront over to the Bush Lane site and continuing through the hospital, as well as the important connections to Queen Street, because we wanted to make sure that although we were going to add commercial activation to the waterfront, that we didn't sterilize Queen Street in doing so. So we wanted to make sure that there was meaningful and engaging flow between the two areas. I think we often as a community think of them as culturally distinct, the downtown and the waterfront, when really we should be taking them, you know, as a whole. So throughout the process, you know, obviously we're dealing with a lot of land that the city doesn't actually control, you know, the mall being one, the Canal District, down the hospital sites, and even around the Bush Lane. What we began to do is kind of do a more concerted effort on the lands that are actually controlled by the city, which stem from Pond Arborine to the plaza and Clerk Park area. And I think it's probably important to note that this plan is conceptual. It's a 20-year vision. However, we're now trying to kind of zero in on the areas where we know we can make material impact in the next, ideally 3 to 5 years. So when we look at some of the elements that you'll see on these drawings, you know, you can obviously see very treed roadways that have been slightly realigned, including, you know, East Street, Dog Rock, and Spring here. Those are conceptual in nature. You know, we've allocated residential developments, you know, adjacent to Bay Street. Same thing. It's a 20-year vision. This is what the community could look at that time. And that also carries over to some of the areas of parking. You know, when we looked at this plan, we assumed that there'd be an uptick in active transportation, both transit use as well as bikes, walkers, what have you, but we've also considered that the parking would actually be elevated rather than expansive. So now when you're looking at some of these parking spots where, what once was parking where you have a building, we're actually contemplating that there would be, a multi-story parking unit with that, and that's how we're able to kind of optimize some spaces in this plan. So, as mentioned, in addition to the waterfront, we were looking at these strong connections, north-south or vice versa. And we've got a combination of, I don't know if you guys have heard the term moon earth, but they're essentially walking streets. So vehicles are still allowed in them, but they feel kind of more intimidated driving. So they're more pedestrian friendly. And then the concept of complete streets, which is streets that are fully designed with active transportation in mind, as well as kind of for beautification principles. So here's a few examples, these bikers down in the middle, as well as these individuals up here, that would be considered a moon earth. Whereas, the picture in the bottom left represents kind of a complete street. So looking at kind of the waterfront activation, like the design and the concepts are great, but they don't really mean anything unless we're doing an active programming along with them. So we've tried to account with our design so that we still maintain, obviously rotary fest, hopefully as is, if not larger. We want to make sure that there's lots of activation still going on under the on-our pavilion. I don't know if you guys have been down there recently, but recently just installed a new patio that's going to be active for 2026. All about drawing more people down to the waterfront and then maintaining that connectivity with the plaza so that we have kind of a fluid flow of people through all those activation spaces. Wintertime, similar kind of principles. We were hoping at some point to actually transition this to a glycol system so that the skating trail could be frozen much earlier and have more suitable and sustainable ice, especially with the fluctuating weather conditions that we've been having. We've been looking at, obviously building up Bonsu through these areas, potential for winter markets, Christmas markets as well. So we're trying to look at it from a 4 seasons perspective. Now this, as I said, was kind of in the conceptual phase, and now the phase that we're going into is detailed design, where we're going to flesh out some of these concepts in depth. So when we went to council back in June, we brought forward this plan for their endorsement, but the area of particular interest in the area where we have kind of council's blessing to truly examine is what we're calling phase 1, which is Clerk Park and John Roswell Park. So it's the area from the A.D. McLean Slip, which is this area directly below us, all the way to the art gallery location. And you'll see eventually, should the plans come to fruition, what we would do is continue that waterfront over the A.D. McLean Slip and directly in front of City Hall. I think one of the big things that we recognize is that the land around City Hall is public land, but it really feels private. It doesn't feel like it's open to the public. So I think being able to eventually transition the waterfront and the promenade along the water rather than sending people out to Foster Drive and beyond is something that hopefully see happen in the future. These are just some of the precedent images. So this would be an element outside of City Hall where individuals could go down and actually touch the water. There's a beach area here. Actually, people use it to fish. It'd be set back and it's actually quite still through this area. So you wouldn't be putting people towards open currents or anything to that effect. This is, the concept for the A.D. McLean Slip, where you have access points for kayaks. You have a little bit of an area to again, once get down to the water. And we've got a revitalization process that we're doing, which is to try to reclaim some of the industrialized aspects of the waterfront with more kind of culturally significant and native vegetation to the area. So we've actually Got a floating wetland purchase for next year, so we're gonna do a pilot where we put one of these floating wetlands in here. They'll help sustain fish habitat, rearing for juvenile fish, as well as we're working with our indigenous coordinator to engagement coordinator to look at how we could potentially put culturally significant plants in here as well. But zooming in on phase one, you'll notice something probably a little bit different here. We took a rough footprint of the art gallery's proposed new concept. I don't know if everybody's aware, but they are doing a feasibility study to redevelop the art gallery. So we factored that into our design. We've got a large, what we call a destination playground in this location. Similar to what Toronto has, or is currently developing on its waterfront, as well as Detroit, but the structures are 20 to 30 feet high. And they're based off of kind of like a combination of public art, education, and play equipment. So they've got a beautiful one, it's Pier 26 in New York City, where they've got these giant sturgeon and stickleback, and it's like an educational playground about the ecology of the harbor. But you know, kids can climb inside the sturgeon about 20 feet up and come down slides, and impactful for us in the sense that you'll be able to see it from Sioux, Michigan. So from a visitor perspective, you know, as we get the locked tour boats, as you get, you know, people seeing, they'll actually see that there's stuff going on in here. Which we have had, I've sent staff, tourism staff to go to the lookout. And spend the day hanging out at the Sioux locks, look out on the Michigan side and figure out, you know, people's perspectives on Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. You know, some of the common sentiment is, I'm not sure why I would go there. You know, they don't look across necessarily and see anything that catches their eye. So I think having some visuals and some impactful equipment here go a long way. We've got an urban beach that's modeled off of Sugar Beach in Toronto. So just a kind of socializing space there, gives people access to a beach that don't want to maybe hop on the adventure bus to go to Pointe Duchesne. And then floating pool, which was modeled off of the River House in the National Capital Commission's River House in Ottawa. So it's a dock-like structure that you can remove on an annual basis. Big platforms if you just want to sun yourself, or you're able to get in the water and swim. And the reason why we've chosen this location is this is the retaining wall from City Hall. The current starts out past this area and actually floats beyond this. So this is actually like a back eddy area. If you go with a kayak, you can actually sit in that area and not actually be pushed. So we've kind of tested the water velocity in that area and are continuing to do so. So in terms of kind of precedent images, this is what you know, the beach could look like with the pool in the background. The pool itself, this is almost identical to a T to what they have in Ottawa in the Ottawa River. You know, with a large docking station for people just to hang out if they just want to sit on chairs, they can, or if they want to go in the water, great. And then the destination playground would be features such as this. And they'd either be provided by Monstrum or Earthscapes, another company that does this work. So that's where we're at. And in terms of where we are right now, we're starting the hydrological surveys out in front of Clerk Park this week. We need sort of detailed surveys of the water and shoreline, just to make sure that when we're doing our engineering design, that everything's kind of ties in perfectly. And then our formal landscape design is gonna, once we have all that data collected and sort of refined, then we'll start that in November. So. Anybody has any questions?
Is there a budget to all that?
So phase one right now is currently estimated at 17. And what we've been doing to date is we're using the municipal accommodation tax, which is now a 6% charge on hotel night stay. So any visitor that stays here, we collect a 6% charge on the hotel night stay, and we've been using those funds to advance the design. So continue to pursue it that way. And then once we get closer to a refined cost estimate for phase one, pending council approval, then we would go and start seeking alternate funding through the province, through the feds, or potentially a capital fundraising campaign.
Questions from anybody online? Councilor Dufault.
Yeah, thanks. Just through you, Madam Chair, to Travis. Thanks again for the presentation. I've obviously been through it a couple times. It's good to hear it again and to get kind of refamiliarized with the the overall vision, and just kind of taking that and translating it into kind of my own experiences walking down in that area and kind of just getting a feel for what that might look like. One of the questions I had was just about the ecological restoration of the slip area. Is there water quality testing that's also planned as part of those hydrologic studies in that area?
Not right now. We've spoken with the Aquatic Research Center in Sioux, Michigan, that does quite a bit of the sampling of the waterway as well as APH. So in terms of is your question about water, if an individual were to swim in the water, or
It's kind of just like I know that a lot of the land is reclaimed industrial land. I know that kind of we've talked about stormwater runoff quality before. Some old industrial effluent pipes are throughout different areas of the waterfront. And so if we're undertaking an ecological restoration effort in that area, which I think is a great area to start with, um, it it's just a question like, are we going to have some baseline water quality tests to kind of measure the success of that ecological restoration? Are we able to check and make sure, they had that huge case in Hamilton where they discovered a pipe that they had no idea was running into their waterfront, and all of a sudden realized they'd been, dumping a whole bunch of nasty stuff into the water over the years without anyone realizing it. So just wondering if, because we're doing that special pilot here, if we're going to consider any kind of quality testing there.
I should have clarified, we're doing it more on a fisheries and aquatic level. So
Okay.
right now that inlet is sterile. When you look at it, there's no riparian vegetation, there's no shade, there's no cover, so there's very little ability for juvenile fish, like a safe rearing habitat for them. So the intent was to establish vegetation and sort of cover so that we could create some more juvenile rearing habitats. And we've actually had preliminary conversations with some of the fish hatcheries about doing potential pickerel release in that area. So it's not meant for reclamation of heavy metals or those kind of aspects, but more kind of from a wildlife perspective. And some of that stems from the fact that we've got, literally down on the water there. So we get a lot of mink, otters, beavers, and other wildlife. But, I think they're very much limited right now to the Suncor site is where they're kind of residing. And there is a really strong interest from visitors to be able to kind of see wildlife in their natural setting. So being able to kind of have that restoration and attract more wildlife to the area is of importance for us.
Any follow-up questions? Councilor Dufault?
Okay, so it sounds like we're not going to do any water quality testing there for now.
No, we're not planning on doing we would not be doing any water other than eventually we'll be doing E. coli testing, assuming that the pool goes forward. We would not be doing any metals-based water quality monitoring.
Okay. And then that was my second question. With the pool, I know we've talked and it's good to see how it's presented. The dock-like structure, obviously the importance of seasonal removal. Is there um, is there a sense of the scale of the budget that you guys have yet for how much would be devoted to the pool and how much is devoted to like the whole overall redesign of that area of the waterfront? Like it seems to me, I don't have that information, but it seems like the one element has gotten the majority of the attention without all of the other substantial elements of this
Yeah,
redesign
and
getting much notice.
absolutely, and I think that I mean, the part of the exercise that we're doing right now is going to be that cost refinement. The pool is a very small portion of what that budget could look like. But I think I don't want to say a specific number, but it would be less than
Probably
10%, less than 10% of that budget.
that's kind of what I was thinking. 5 to 10% is
Yeah.
probably reasonable here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm just looking to understand kind of a sense of that because when I see the whole scope, when I think about putting a glycol system in for the skating trail, when I look at like a total redesign of the shoreline, when I look at the promenade, bringing people into the front of City Hall, being able to go down and touch the water, like those are some of the like the design elements that I think are especially attractive about this vision, um, and ones that I think would be really welcomed by the community, especially as they become much more familiar with them.
Absolutely, and I think as you're aware, so for phase one, it's strictly Clerk Park, John Roswell Park, but we're developing it in, a manner that will be able to be phased in, right? So, we will advance this project when the funds are available. So having it kind of in a modular fashion where you're able to tackle this particular section, and advance the next and advance the next. And the nice part is the pool is detachable, right?
Mhm.
So if you decide that you don't want to do the pool at a particular point in time, you still have to do the landscape design of the actual shorefront. That will remain, but the pool portion, you don't have to do at any particular time. So I think it's from a step-by-step process. It allows for us to make the right decisions in terms of when it's fiscally prudent to move forward with these particular aspects.
By the same token, the promenade walkway is not in phase one, right?
The
Or
promenade
is it?
walkway,
Like that crosses over to across the slip to City Hall from Clerk Park.
not right now, no.
Okay,
So,
but that's something that you guys would obviously have some of the, like you're not gonna have to do the hydrologic studies twice.
no, and we
The
are,
pilings at the other side where it meets, those are gonna be included in phase one, those kinds of things.
absolutely, and I think I guess one item that didn't come up, Luke, that was approved, I guess, by council was there's a separate scope of work, which technically is not part of phase one, which city council approved, re-examining the retaining walls around City Hall have a bow in them, so they need to be addressed. So as part of the work that we're doing in and around City Hall, we'll ensure that that work is also being looked at for the future. So it's going to be captured both on the east and west side.
That's great. Thanks. That's all my questions. Appreciate your time, Travis.
Thanks.
Any other questions from anybody?
I have a quick question or comment. I love the idea of the walkways and areas where people are able to walk and then that there's a lot, traffic and so on. Given that we've had some pretty serious, almost like terrorist type activities, like when you look at what happened in Vancouver, I think it was the Filipino festival, where cars just mow down people and things like that. I'm wondering if considerations for protecting pedestrians or assemblies, like even when you look at our market right now, if you have a large group of people in there, there is not a lot of barriers in place to protect people from that. I know it's an awful thing to have to even think about or consider,
Mhm.
but I think it is a consideration in looking at some of what's been proposed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think. Vehicular pedestrian and vehicular cyclist safety is something that we're always, need to keep in mind and probably quite honestly need to do a better job of. So it'll definitely be considered as part of the design concepts.
Exactly.
Any other questions from anybody? I just have one question with regards to, you said you had done some consultation, 2023 to 2024. Is the consultation period done, or is there still the ability for people to provide input, or what is the plan?
At this stage, it's done.
Okay,
So we've gone to the community, we went to the community on 2 different occasions to get their feedback on the overall kind of want list and
yes,
concepts.
okay,
And so we've now taken that information and now we're actually fleshing out the overall
the
design.
details. Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm assuming that the plan, communication will continue, like there will be ongoing updates to the community.
Yeah.
Whether it's through websites or social media or whatever it may be.
absolutely, like the detailed design work, like the next scope of work.
Yeah.
Aside from this hydrological survey that we're doing, won't formally start until sometime in November,
Okay,
so. But our website, I don't know, it's exciting news. The city recently updated its website and we are updating the waterfront development portion as well.
okay, perfect.
So,
Thank you very much. Anything else before we let Travis go?
I wanna go yet.
Oh, that's.
You're perfect.
Well, let's have one question. Will the public have a presentation similar to the one we just had on the overall plan?
so it was done through city council. So we did that back in June. And it was actually also done over in Sioux, Michigan. And it is publicly available. Okay, so, but yeah. I think as we get further along, like they'll obviously, when we go back to council with the refined concept, there'll be an opportunity there. We'll probably be looking at rolling that out in front of the community as well.
Yeah, because a lot of people aren't watching council.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
Where YouTube, this is all available,
Yeah,
so
it
if you
would
have
be
people asking, you can reference and they can watch our.
But I think there's, just in myself talking with people that I know, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what's being proposed. And I think to be able to get out in front of it a bit, with really clear, with a clear understanding for the public, I think would be important.
Yeah.
At this point.
Absolutely. Great.
Great, thank you again, and I guess you will remain at our meeting for a while. So moving on to item 5.2, parks updates, and we have Wishart Park, Wilcox Park, and Queen Elizabeth B Field, so I will turn it over to.
Yeah, so since Travis is here, put you on the spot, I didn't tell you this, so Travis has been working really hard on the Wishart Park project, so I thought maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Sure.
It's been an ongoing.
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, the grant went in 2019. So yeah, it's been an exciting year for Wishart. We put in a 140-foot bridge in March over the Root River and a trail that officially opened this summer that now allows you to connect from Wishart Park to Third Line on the hub trail just below the hill on Third Line, closer to Old Blue River. No, Old Garden River Road.
Old Garden River Road.
Yeah. So it's about a 3-kilometer trail, in one direction, earth trail. I've been trying to make it very clear to everybody, it's not the hub trail. It's a lot steeper, more challenging, but it is like absolutely beautiful. Great spot. Once you get into the park, we've continued the trail uphill to the north. There's 2 new little mountain bike trails up there, as well as a multi-use kind of path that's 1 kilometer long, and then there's a full connection directly across Fourth Line into the Red Pine trail system at Hiawatha Highlands. We are installing playground equipment, like the under promise over deliver. So it will be installed by the end of this month. Some exciting kind of cool public art looking, I would say, risk-based play. So Good for anybody that grew up in the 70s or 80s. And in addition to that, we started clearing a little lookout up top. The hill above the playground area is actually, it looks to the south, but you get a really nice view. And we're looking at putting in a viewing platform there coming next year, as well as some additional lighting in the parking lot, and then looking at like a little interpretive nature trail on the north side of the bridge. There's like a pretty flat area, so just like, you know, a couple 100 meters with some interpretive signs, and we've got some of the signs that we've already done. We had Williams, local artist, some of the artwork looks really nice. That's it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great project, so.
It already
really-
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Huge congratulations on that.
Thanks.
That is fantastic. Such a fun trail.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, but you can understand why I'm telling people it's
Yeah,
not a
no,
hub trail.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
hills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but really neat.
Yeah, we're excited about the play space too, so it's using natural logs, so it's gonna be our first playground. Utilizing the log structure, so that's a really nice addition, so really keeping with the natural theme in that park and.
It's a great place if you have dogs, you know, you got the river there, apparently you're supposed to keep them on leash, but you know, there's lots of great places to take them, you know, especially if it's hot, they can go down in the water, all sorts of stuff. So we're seeing a lot of people use it compared to when we first started going there.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, so, yeah, so Travis, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good.
Can I just ask,
For all your
where's
hard work
the
on it.
best place to find a map of, you know, not only the where you go across the bridge down to Third Line, but you mentioned some of the other connectors and stuff. What would
Trail Forks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotta make a Sioux Cycling Club has it, and it's available on the Trail Forks app. We're in the process of making a hard copy map. And it'll also be included the Sioux Cycling Club with Tourism Sault Ste. Mary's makes mountain bike trail maps, and it'll be as part of the 2026
okay.
flyers. So good.
Any other questions? All right, I think you can leave now.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Travis.
Wilcox Park and Queen Elizabeth Beach.
So Wilcox Park, similar timeline, so the parks team has prepped the whole site.
Mhm.
And the installers are arriving in the next week or two, so end of the month. Beginning of November, we should have all the equipment installed, and then from there, we'll be looking at installing the pathways. And then, once that part's finished, we're gonna look to see what we can do over in the court area, so looking to add in some basketball nets and do some improvements in that space as well, so. So yeah, so that'll be exciting. I know the neighbors in the neighborhood, the staff have been pretty excited that the new park is coming, so. Queen Elizabeth B Field, so our parks team is currently working on adding in some drainage, so there's been some issues over the years where they get, after the snow melts, they get some pooling. And the field is really soft, so it makes it really hard to do any work to the fields in the spring, just because the equipment starts to sink, so they're currently installing all of that drainage. The goal is to put in a sprinkler system, we're also looking, hopefully down the road, to be installing some new lights, so there's a request going to council to improve lighting in that field as well, which will benefit football in the summer months, and then the oval usage in the winter months, so that'll be a really good improvement to the turf quality in that location. And if you're okay, if I can add one more update.
Yeah.
Ari, I had a chance to meet with our parks team just with regards to the parking lot. So we did take a quick peek out there. They are gonna look at installing some stop signs. So as you come in and off of Black Road, we'll install a stop sign there, and he's gonna take a look at some other locations that are appropriate to add some traffic calming in there. And then maybe once that's all done, we can take a look in the spring or go out before the season kicks off to see if there's any additional signage. That we need to be looking to kind of really slow down some of that traffic in that space.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for the update. Any questions for Virginia about any of the parks updates? All right, seeing none, subcommittee, item 6, subcommittee and task force updates.
I don't have any right now, so the Sports Hall of Fame is on
Yes.
hold. I did mention the previous meeting that I would like to strike a subcommittee to look at. Working on a Bellevue Park master plan, so once I've got a bit more information compiled. Hopefully at the next meeting, I can bring forward a resolution and then we can strike a working group to start to look at some community consultation and getting some feedback from community members on what they'd like to see in the park, so. We do have a few parks that do require updated master plans. The one that we had is from the 80s, so it's definitely time to look at redoing it, taking some snapshots. Yari had been working on some background information and pulling kind of those sections together, and it'll be a good time to start to get some consultation as we move in over the year, and then hopefully we can start to come forward with some recommendations moving into the spring.
Good.
And just to note, just in with regards to the awards evening, I just wanted to thank everybody from City Hall for all their help. It was a wonderful evening. It was lots of attendees. The place was packed and yeah, it was a wonderful evening. So thank you to everybody. Tracy and I attended and awarded the Sports Hall of Fame recipients their awards. But it was very well put together. I mean, it was clear everybody put in a lot of work, so thank you. Any questions about any of that? So Sports Hall of Fame or master plans? All right, seeing none, we can move on to item 7, new business. And we have 7.1, which is the financial assistance application for the national and international sports competitions. So in our agenda package, we did receive the application form for Miranda Studinsky Mayhew to attend the Strongman Corporation Canada competition, or sorry, the Strongman Corporation Canada Nationals Championship. October 4th, so that was a couple of days ago in Calgary, Alberta. So does anybody have any questions about this application?
Does the money requested reflect the old numbers or the new numbers?
I put the resolution in the same as what we did for the previous application that we received. The council report is going to council on the October 14th agenda with the amendments that were recommended for the fees. So that's why I kept it to the maximum amount allowable, which if approved by council will be the $300 instead of the $200, so.
Thanks for clarifying. Can I have a mover to move the support for the funding? Jonathan and Lou second?
Sure.
Okay, everybody looks in favor? Okay, so resolved that the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee endorse the application by Miranda Studinsky Mayhew to receive assistance to attend the 2025 Strongman Corporation Championships from October 3rd to 5th, 2025, in the maximum amount currently eligible as per the policy. Item 8, correspondence. None noted. All right. We're looking at our next meeting for December 2nd, 2025. All right, and then item 10 is adjournment. Do we have a mover to adjourn? Lou, and a seconder. Aria, thank you. So resolved that this committee now adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Have a
everybody.
great evening. Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye, thank you.